Hi, I'm Sarah Bradley, and I'm going to take this chance to explain to you a little bit about my metaphor and my teaching philosophy. My philosophy began last semester. As I was in Brother Maggleby's class, I began the education program, and I learned a little bit about how to create a teaching metaphor and how to apply that metaphor to different doctrines, principles, and tools. Now, before I begin, I just want to give a caveat that my philosophy is always changing. Last semester I learned a lot from Paulo Freire and from Plato, from Catherine Beecher, and I'm learning more this semester about others, and uniquely I'm learning a lot about the teachers that I'm taking from this semester, whether they're education professors or not. I seem to be applying and adapting and changing my philosophy to what I see that works in a classroom and what I see that it doesn't work in a classroom. So although this is my philosophy now, a week from now, 2 months from now, my philosophy continues to change. But first and most importantly, I want to explain to you how I view my students. I feel that's an important part of teaching philosophy, is how we view them and what we believe about our role as a teacher. The first thing I believe about my students is that I'm their equal, that they are my equal. As much as I'm there to teach them, I'm there to learn from them, and as much as they're there to learn, they're there to teach me and to teach each other. And as they learn from that equality, they rise to the occasion and they become lifelong learners. The second thing I believe about my students is that they're brilliant. No matter who they are or where they come from, everybody has the capacity and the ability to learn. And that if I treat my students with their potential in mind, and I teach them with that in mind, they will rise to that potential that they have to learn and to grow and to teach. And so to teach them knowing the potential that they have and what they can become as students and as individuals. Next, I want to explain a little bit about my metaphor. Now, my metaphor began last semester in Brother Maggleby's class, where I chose to do the metaphor of light. And again, while my metaphor has stayed the same, many of the principles and the tools as well as the doctrine have changed as I've learned more, especially in Brother Wilson's class. But the first thing that is represented in my metaphor is the sun, which represents the doctrine in my metaphor. I believe the sun is the source of light, and I relate light so much to truth and to knowledge, and in its purest form. That would be the doctrine. For example, one of my key doctrines in my philosophy is that we're all agents, that we have the freedom to choose to act or to be acted upon. And that as my students realize that they have this agency, that they're empowered in their own learning experience. And they also will learn to take the accountability for the actions of those choices that they make. Next would be my principles, and that is represented by reflection, which is a principle itself. Principles, for example, in the example that I just gave of agency, the principle would be that students are agents, similar to what Paulo Freire as well as Plato said, that they're not objects but agents, not objects to be filled, but agents to act and to do. And last would be the tool, which is light. When we can't use the sun directly, but we can use its light as a tool to receive that knowledge, to be enlightened by others, and to discover a knowledge ourselves. A tool for that would be in my philosophy, a tool would be allowing students to have the freedom to choose their own learning environment. For example, I'm an English education major, and I feel it's really important to allow students the opportunity to choose what books they're going to read. I know in my education experience, having it forced upon me, I had no intrinsic motivation to do those things, to read those books, or to want to learn about them. But I feel if I allow my students an option of books to read in the classroom, that they're more motivated because it's intrinsic. They want to read it because they chose it, and as they read that, they become accountable for their reading and for their understanding of what they've read. My philosophy includes a lot more than just that doctrine, that principle, and that metaphor. However, I believe it centers around the main fact that I believe students are unique, and that a philosophy, someone once said that a philosophy is a love of learning and of education and of wisdom, and learning to love to continue that. And I believe my role as a teacher is to help students to continue to learn to love education, and to find that intrinsic motivation in them, to help them grow. Because if they can learn to love learning, then I don't need to be in the classroom anymore, and they can learn on their own. And I believe that's truly the role of a teacher. Thank you.